So I have a statistic here from Stanford. There was research that they did that shows that when we ruminate on a stressful event for even 10 minutes, our stress hormones can stay elevated for hours.
You know those days where everything feels off, you spill your coffee, you're behind on your work, you snap at someone you love, and by 6 p.m., you're over it, but you can't seem to shake the mood? We all have bad days, they're part of being human, but what really matters is how you come back from them. Today we're talking about the art of the emotional reset, the everyday habits that help you decompress, reset your nervous system, and stop carrying the weight of a bad day into the next one. Let's dive in.
We are here today and we are going to talk about having a bad day and how to reset after a bad day.
Very important skill.
So I think a lot of times people experience bad days, rough days for whatever reason, and it sticks with them. It carries on, and then it's a bad few days, a bad week, maybe a bad month. And we're going to talk about today how to stop that in its track and move on, reset the next day.
Yeah, it's super relevant, and I feel like, I don't know about you, but just like with everything happening in the world right now, it's like, number one, it's easy to have a bad day, but then you add all this other stuff going on politically, economically, just the whole climate. Everybody just seems like very stressed out, and it's just easy for things to go haywire and all that to kind of pile onto you emotionally. So I'm really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, we all have a negativity bias where it's so much easier to remember negative things than positive things. That's why, they say with parenting, when you're talking to your kids, for every correction you make, you should be saying 5 positive things to them, because it can take 5 positive things to outweigh something negative. And that doesn't even mean that you're going to forget the one negative thing. That's just kind of to reset yourself back so you're not only focused on the bad thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the same goes for dating or in your relationship. Like, for every, good and for one good interaction, or I'm sorry, one bad interaction can quickly outweigh, 5 positive interactions.
Yeah.
So it's really, it takes everything off of the train tracks.
Yeah, and your nervous system can stay activated for hours, days after a stressful event, unless you do something to bring yourself down, to actually decompress that. So if you stay in that mode, it's not just going to magically go away. I mean, sometimes, yes, things will get better if it's just, something small that happened and you just need a little bit of time. But if you did have a really bad day, you need to physically bring yourself down from that.
Yeah. And, I think just if you've ever been in a scenario where something bad has happened, even just that small period of ruminating and just kind of getting in it can just throw the entire day off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I have a statistic here from Stanford. There was research that they did that shows that when we ruminate on a stressful event for even 10 minutes, our stress hormones can stay elevated for hours. So that's not experiencing a stressful event. It's ruminating on a stressful event. It's thinking about it. It's going back and replaying it over and over and over. So think about how powerful that is, that it's not even just re-experiencing it. It's just thinking about it.
Let's talk about some of the things that we shouldn't do when we have a bad day. Because I think if we know what we shouldn't do, we know what to look out for.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing is don't numb yourself out. So I think so often we think that, well, if we can just forget our bad day, let's just go home, have a couple glasses of wine, forget that that even happened, everything will be better. And it's actually not the case. When you avoid what is going on and you're kind of numbing instead of nurturing, it's not going to actually help anything. So that would be, doom scrolling, zoning out, drinking, anything that's just going to make you kind of temporarily forget what's going on without actually addressing what's happening. So I think that would be the first thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's so tempting to, at least for me, to just suppress emotions and just to push them down and completely kind of ice out and just compartmentalize it. And I think, maybe in the short term that can be relieving, but I've noticed over time, that kind of builds up. So I think that's definitely something that we should be avoiding, is just ignoring it, kind of like you said, and just, not suppress what we're feeling.
Yeah. And sometimes you might have to do that momentarily. Let's say you're at work and you have a big meeting in a half hour. Maybe it's not the best time to sit there and really focus on what's going on. Maybe it's, hey, I need to distract myself, get through my work day, and then deal with it later. And that's okay. It's not that you have to stop everything and it needs to be solved right this moment. But I think more of as a long-term thing obviously numbing out is not going to be super effective.
Right, right. And as long as it's addressed at some point,
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that can also be detrimental is overanalyzing. So
Definitely.
really just like ruminating it, that kind of statistic you shared,
Yeah,
that quote
it's
you shared,
huge.
it's easy to replay scenarios over and over again in your head. And, a quick thing that you can do is if you notice yourself doing that, you can just call it out.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop. Just,
Mm-hmm.
notice that it's happening and then
Mm-hmm.
stop it.
Yeah. I think another thing that people do that is not overly helpful is they suppress their emotions. So, this idea that if I just don't feel that, if I don't acknowledge that I'm feeling that, then it will just go away. So, it's kind of similar to numbing, but it's not really like numbing is more like active. I'm doing something to numb this out, where suppressing your feelings is more, I'm just not going to talk about what I'm going through. I'm not going to express how I'm feeling to other people or to myself. I'm going to pretend like everything is fine. And that's kind of, it reminds me of toxic positivity in a way. Like, yes, okay, telling your mind that everything is okay and trying to be positive, yeah, has this time and place that can be helpful. But if you're just saying, everything's great, everything's wonderful, I have nothing to worry about, I have no bad feelings, well, yeah, it's not going to help you very much.
Sometimes I feel like it's difficult to, acknowledge what we're feeling because
Mm-hmm.
maybe we don't even really fully understand, the emotions behind
Mm-hmm.
it. So how do people who maybe don't have that emotional vocabulary kind of do that?
Mm. I think the first step is just acknowledging that something feels off.
Mm.
So even if you can't say, okay, I can pinpoint the exact emotion that I'm feeling, you can say, well, something feels a little bit off. I don't feel great today.
Mm.
So maybe yesterday I felt a lot better than today. So something is going on that is causing me to not feel super great today. And we don't always need fancy vocabulary. We don't have to call out every single emotion for what it is. But sometimes just knowing that there is something that doesn't feel good can be really effective.
Yeah, one of the things that I think can also be really helpful is, we acknowledge the emotion, hey, something's off, but then that next action step afterwards of doing something about it, is, kind of the make or break. It's like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
feeling off. Now what? Right.
Right.
And for some people, a great thing could be just like start moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like get active, change your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's going to the gym. Maybe it's taking a cold shower. Maybe it's, I heard this one suggestion of popping a what are they called? The Airheads, where the super sour
Oh,
candies.
yeah.
Just doing something
Like
different.
Pop Rocks or something.
Not Pop Rocks.
Oh.
Airheads, or no, not Airheads. What are when we were growing up, the
Oh,
very
the
sour.
like the Warheads
The
or
warheads,
something? Is that what you're
warheads.
talking
Get some
about?
warheads and pop a warhead. Like do something that is gonna switch up physically. Get you moving or get you in a different environment.
Yeah. I think the next thing to do is to regulate your body.
Right.
So noticing, okay, something is off, right? I don't feel amazing. And the next step could be just trying to regulate yourself, getting yourself to a place where you can think clearly, you can think calmly. And sometimes that's as simple as removing yourself from the situation for 10 minutes, splashing cold water on your face, having a drink of water or tea, doing something that kind of just brings you out of what you're feeling. Like you said, moving your body, that can be a really great way to do that. But regulating yourself, you don't have to fix all of the issues right there in that moment, but you do have to bring yourself to a place where you can just kind of think clearly and not be very wrapped up in your emotions. And I think doing that, that can be one of the first things you do to get to a better place.
Yeah, and this is kind of like a concept of like building your kind of like emotional regulation toolbox, right? Like, and that toolbox is going to look differently for everybody, depending on like what your likes are and what works well for you. So if you're, listening to this and thinking like, oh, well, I don't even know what I would do to regulate myself, right? Like, think about some of the things that, normally calm you down, some things that, bring positivity into your life, when you do those activities. And that's a great starting place.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing people can do is they can reflect without ruminating. We don't want to obsess over what happened. We don't want to replay it 100 times, but you also don't want to pretend like it never happened. So reflecting means going back. You can analyze the situation. That is okay to do, to think, okay, what can I do differently next time? What prompted this? What were some of the triggers that happened? But do it from a loving place and a curiosity place rather than a ruminating place.
I think this is a great strategy for anybody who finds themselves in a habitual loop or a pattern of bad days. reflecting is really important because you can identify if there's something that is causing, you to feel this way on a repeated basis,
Yeah.
and then take some sort of small action step to change
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Something that I do with my clients is I love to do like a day map. So if you're telling me like today was the worst, my anxiety was super high, I'm feeling unmotivated, you're having all these symptoms, I say, okay, let's go back and let's literally start from the second your alarm went off this morning. So your alarm went off, you snoozed it, you didn't snooze it, you got out of bed, you washed your face, brushed your teeth. I literally will have them go through the granular detail of every single thing that they did that day. And it is so surprising how often when people do that, they will be like, oh, that's the moment where I felt off. That's the moment where I was upset. Or like, oh, my alarm went off and I immediately was so angry because I didn't sleep last night. Okay, well, why didn't you sleep last night? And it kind of brings up all these things because it can feel a little scary sometimes when you're going through something and you feel like there's no rhyme or reason. I have no idea why I feel this way. I have no idea what happened, that nothing triggered this, nothing prompted this.
Right.
That can be really overwhelming for someone.
And it's, so funny because I feel like just as humans, like naturally we're kind of like wired to like live that way. We're like focused on, hey, what's next? What does the day look like?
Yeah.
And, just taking that small moment to reflect and analyze, can be a game changer.
Yeah,
So
and,
that's a great tip.
You won't be doing it every day. You don't want to be like overthinking every single action you took. But if you're noticing, okay, today started okay and then it ended really poorly, something happened in the middle. And sometimes it's not even like a physical thing. It's not like, oh, well, I went to do this and then this happened. It's like I was driving to work and my mind started thinking about XYZ and then all of a sudden I was in a bad mood. Like, okay, well, that's something that we can work on. Now we have like a tangible piece of this is the time and place. This is what happened. Now we have something specifically we can work on rather than I just had a bad day. Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And I mean, the day mapping is great. Journaling too is another, easy way to kind of recap your day. And, in that process, thinking about, hey, how did I feel emotionally today? And, jotting it down. And that can even help identify a pattern of like, hey, looking back on my entries, like, this day I was also feeling this way. And, kind of helping to visualize that.
Yeah. What's so funny is that when I first started therapy years ago, I was told you should start journaling. And I was always like, I don't know, journaling, like it feels cheesy. It feels like everyone tells you to journal. Like, is that really something I'm going to do? And like, I did it a couple times and I was like, like, I feel like I'm trying to like really neat in my paper and I'm trying to like do it perfectly. And I just like, what do I even say? And then one day it just kind of clicked and I was journaling and I just was like writing every random thought that came to my head. And I felt better after I did it. And I was like, wait a second, like this does actually work. Like I can't believe it actually works. And then it's definitely not a habit that I do frequently. But I do notice on the days where I feel that overwhelm, I feel that dread, I feel that like, oh, today was just icky and I can't put my finger on it. I will just journal and I will just write everything that comes to my mind. And it is so interesting how that release can just make things feel so much better. And then in addition to that release, you also have that kind of analyzing thing of like, oh, wow, like there's things coming out on paper that I didn't even realize I was upset about. So now not only did I was able to get that all out, now I kind of have a framework of, oh, well, this is bothering me. Now I can take an action to deal with that. So it's kind of twofold, but it's funny because I feel like all therapists are like, you should journal.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, that's not going to work for me. And maybe it won't work for everybody, but I was shocked that when I kept doing it, it did actually work and it was effective.
Yeah, it does seem like go-to advice for therapists,
there's a reason.
So for the people that have maybe tried journaling or are hesitant to do it because maybe I feel like maybe they are not going to know what to journal about.
Yeah.
How can they know what to write down? Like what are some things that they can do to like help prompt them?
Start with a prompt. So you can Google, and you can even do it based on how you're feeling. So let's say you're feeling, you're having a bad day, you're feeling really depressed, right? Your symptoms are super high, you're just really feeling off that day. Google, best journaling prompts for when you're feeling depressed and pick one that resonates with you and then start from there. So a lot of times a prompt can either be, it'll be a question, like at what point did you start feeling depressed today, right? It could be, a prompt could be a sentence like, list out the 3 things that you did not have motivation to do today. And these different prompts, they're there to start the conversation in my eyes. So you can write out those 3 things. And then from there, you'll notice that your mind is kind of going, kind of jumping from one thing to the next. Maybe you want to elaborate on what you said already. Maybe it's prompting other things that you want to bring up. If you're really, really stuck, pick 2 or 3 prompts and just set a timer and say, okay, I'm going to journal for 20 minutes just to start the habit. And pick 2 or 3 prompts and just go through and answer them. Because some people, they need a starting point, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
There's so many prompts out there that are super helpful.
I love how, too, you said that it's not something you do every day.
Yeah.
Right? You just have it when you need it, right? And I think maybe one thing that prevents people from journaling is that it feels intimidating because it's like, oh, am I going to start like a daily diary or practice or anything? And, I think just, lowering the expectation a little bit of like, hey, you could just pull this out when you need it, when you have a bad day.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You don't need to do it every single day. And I think that's what's having good toolbox for all of the tools when you are having an off day can be really helpful. It's not stuff that you have to practice every single day. Some things, yes, you have to generally take care of yourself every day. There's definitely self-care things that you need to do on a daily basis to function as, productive human. But there's a lot of things that you're pulling out when you need it, and that's okay. But having some practice, having some knowledge of like, these are the things that make me feel better. Maybe you journal 6 times and you're like, it's not it. This is not helping me. I don't feel better when I'm done with it.
Right.
Making that your go-to when you have a bad day isn't going to help you.
Yeah.
So that's when you need to say, okay, let me scratch that. Let me try something else. Oh, when I sat and did a puzzle, I felt better. Okay, now I know that's going to be something I go to when I have a bad day. So I would say it's not something you have to practice every day, but get some experience in doing it so you can know what you actually like or don't like doing.
Yeah, and the nice part about having that toolbox ready is like, it becomes to a point where you know what your triggers are, how to identify when you're having a bad day, and you know what to do to turn it around. And once you work that formula out, it's just very repeatable and very easy to, it becomes second nature.
Yeah, exactly. You're able to kind of pull yourself out of it. And I think finding something positive to do throughout your day, even when you're feeling really off, and a lot of times I know it is so hard to do something positive when you are feeling really off. Like, it can really feel like you're pulling teeth, but force yourself to do it. Do something that you enjoy. That's not only like a tool to help you feel better, but just something you generally enjoy doing. Like going for a walk with your dog, calling your friend, taking a hot bath, doing something that you enjoy. And the goal maybe is not, I'm going to fully pull myself out of this right now. It's just, let me like sprinkle in a little bit of positivity or joy into this already difficult day. And that can really help.
Yeah. So let's talk about like some common scenarios where people can have bad days and maybe some solutions.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is work.
Work is common.
You're having a bad day at work. Yeah. And the hard thing with work is that a lot of times it's stuff that's out of your control. You have a boss who's not super nice. You have a stressful meeting. You have conversations you don't really want to have. It's not always in your control. So in that scenario, I would say, remove yourself for 5 minutes. Like, if you are able to, in between meetings, step outside, get some fresh air. Maybe learn how to transition out of work better. So if work is really stressful, but I don't know, you work from home and you don't have that separation, maybe you need to have a routine where every day at 5 o'clock, I go for a walk, or I hang out with my dog, or, my husband and I go to the park. Like, you find something that you do to symbolize, this is my transition away from work, so that you can kind of reset and be in a different mode.
Yeah, I think that's great. Another one that comes to the mind is relationships, right? Dealing with conflict in relationships, arguing with your spouse or your partner or your boyfriend, girlfriend. These are very common things. I think just a couple of quick ways to reset from that. Gottman has a take 15 approach where if you get the sense that a fight's occurring, you both just remove yourself from the room for 15 minutes for that cool down, because tensions can rise really quickly.
I think it was 20.
Oh, it's 20. Sorry.
How Corey would be so mad at you.
Corey would be mad at me. I know. Take 20.
Take 20.
Take 20 sounds better
15 minutes will help too.
I feel like 15 would probably be just as effective, but maybe that extra 5 minutes.
You never know that 5 minutes.
Okay. Anyway, separate yourself. That's the concept.
Yes.
One of the more funnier things that I've seen is when you're getting in an argument, you make it a rule to just go nose to nose. Not something that we've tried.
No.
But I have heard that's effective because it adds a comedic relief. It's funny. It's hard to yell at somebody when you're nose to nose.
It is. I think, there's so many little tactics I've seen like that, like on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. But I think for me, like if we have conflict or something is wrong, it is hard for me to be goofy. Like, I don't know about other people, but for me, like, if you try doing that, I feel like I would get
maybe it wouldn't work. It probably wouldn't work for you. It would end badly.
I feel like I cannot be in a goofy mood when I'm mad because I need to resolve it. I need to okay, before we're laughing, we're resolving this. Like
you know yourself.
We're not going nose to nose right now. But maybe for some people who have more of a goofy demeanor and like they can be a little more lighthearted in those situations, that would probably be so funny.
Yeah. The key is knowing your partner.
Yeah. I would be like, get off of me.
That might make things worse, actually. Yeah.
Another relationship I'm thinking of is parenting. So, of course, when you're having meltdowns, chaos, if you're overstimulated, if your child is going through some sort of growth spurt that is causing behaviors, learning to separate your emotion from what your child is going through. This is so hard, but not internalizing it that, oh, this is my fault that, they're grouchy because they're teething. Like, it's not your fault and it's okay, but it's still going to affect you. You're still living in that chaos and that can be really hard. So I think also learning how to physically separate yourself sometimes, like obviously you can't just walk away from your children when they need you, right? But if your child takes a nap, like maybe just say, okay, because they're having a difficult day and it's causing me to have a bad day, when they nap, I'm going to relax.
Yeah.
I'm going to just chill out. I'm going to, do something that I enjoy doing. I'm going to read a book for 30 minutes. And maybe that's the day that your house is just a little messy. Yeah. And I'm sorry, my house is messy, but like we're both just getting through today.
The other thing I think with that is like learning how to communicate with your partner of what your needs are. Yeah. I think is super important. Tap me in, tap me out, when things get difficult and just having that open line with your partner, can really help prevent the bad days from even, getting to the point where they ruin you,
I think it helps that it will prevent resentment from building too of like, they were teething and I was with them all day and then like you come in and like you didn't even do this or you didn't even help. But meanwhile, maybe that person doesn't even know that you were struggling or that it was a difficult day. So having that open dialogue and maybe even having some sort of like code word or something that you can say where like your partner just knows, okay, I need to tap in, I need to take over for a little bit, and that can kind of prevent that from escalating.
Yeah. And then I think the last one that I want to talk about is your dialogue with yourself, right? And I think when you're having a bad day, especially if we're in the habit of ruminating or something like that, it's so easy to just get down on yourself and just speak negatively to yourself. And I would say to try to interrupt that, right? And speak to yourself, ask yourself, hey, would I talk to my best friend this way? Yeah. And if the answer is no, then, try shifting the language a little bit of the way your internal dialogue is going. Yeah.
I agree. And something that will prevent it from lasting for days and days and days is giving yourself permission to go through this sometimes. Like, okay, obviously if you're having a bad day, once a week, then yeah, maybe you need to like work on that. Obviously it's not a goal to be going through that, but like we're all human and we all have rough days and there's some seasons that are just going to be harder than others, and allowing yourself to go through that and not putting so much pressure can make it better. Like if you're thinking like, I had a bad day and I shouldn't be feeling like that and I ruined this and I ruined that and that was my whole day, blah, 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 and you're beating yourself up about it, and then you're going into the next day like that, your day is not going to get any better. Where if you just wake up and say, you know what, yesterday was really difficult and that's okay because that happens sometimes and I'm going to be compassionate on myself. Let's make today better. Like, think about how different that inner dialogue is for someone.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. I think the bottom line of this whole topic is like bad days are inevitable. They're going to happen. Yep. And I think what we want to try to do is just avoid them from showing up too many days in a row. Yeah. Right. And just getting on top of it and, learning how to reset, learning how to recover. I have an activity that I want to run by you. It is, am I the a-hole? specifically for bad days.
I'm excited. So usually we try to read these beforehand, but I said to Brandon today, like, you find one and surprise me with it. And
Okay.
I'm really, really excited to see which one you found.
It's a little bit of a longer one,
Okay.
so everybody bear with me. I'm going to read it out a little bit, and then we'll get Cassie's reaction.
Okay.
I'm a father of 3 boys, ages 12 to 17, and a husband of 1 woman. My wife is an amazing...
That's good.
He did clarify 1 woman.
Okay.
My wife is an amazing woman with very few flaws. One of these, again, few flaws is her anger. I love the way how he's just even speaking. Like, he's so hesitant.
He's so scared she's going to find it and he's going to get in trouble.
He's just going to pull up his laptop. When she's not happy, she has a habit of kind of making everybody else's day worse. For example, if she has a bad day at work, I know that it's likely that I'll get fussed at for something she usually doesn't care about. For my boys, I know it's rough as they really don't want to argue with their mother. On previous bad days, my wife has went off and overboard on our kids for small things such as leaving the toilet seats up or leaving a paper plate out. To combat this, I've made a group chat with all the boys that we call Bad Day Alert. The way it works is that if one of us notices that my wife is not exactly having a good day and will make it our problem, we simply text bad day into the chat so that the others can prepare. We also use it for just quick guy talk, but its main purpose is to warn the family in case of a bad day. When we get a bad day alert, we do what we can to ensure that no one gets in trouble. It also gives me time to prepare to cook or pick up the dinners she really loves and take care of any chores that are typically hers. That way she's able to come home and just decompress from the bad day without lashing out at any of us. My wife, prior to recently, was not aware of the text group. She did, however, find out. My sister-in-law recently moved in temporarily, and my wife had a bad day. My oldest son notified the rest of us. Our youngest son thought it would be smart to notify his aunt as well. She questioned him about everything, and he spilled the beans. My sister-in-law told my wife, and now she's mad at me. She says it's wrong of me to do that because I'm essentially teaching her kids to treat her like an angry child. I protested that it was beneficial for all of us, but she refused to hear it. I really think I was doing a good thing for all of us by starting this. Am I the problem?
Okay. That is such a good one. You picked a really good one. I have so many thoughts. First of all, I feel like this man and his children love this woman so much.
Definitely.
And it's very clear that they care very deeply about her. He cares very deeply about his family dynamic, about his children. So kudos to him. Love that for him. It's funny, when you were first reading it, I said to myself, this would be a problem if she doesn't know about it. Because what he's doing essentially is that he is kind of creating this like alliance with his kids where it's like, hey, it's us together, like versus mom. And I know it's meant to be like supportive of her, but from a kid's perspective, like, you want to come off to your kids no matter how old they are. Like, we're a team. Like, it's us and we are managing the children together, right? Like, we're one unit as a family, but really it should be, the parents need to be really, really solid. So by separating her out from this, even though he feels like it's for her benefit, I can understand why that would be an issue, because it's causing, it could potentially be an unhealthy dynamic where the kids are now kind of being pinned against the mom. I think that if it was worded in a way of, hey, honey, like, I notice when there's certain things that kind of trigger you to not feel great or to feel a little angry, this is what's happening. I would love to get more on top of that. And like, me and the boys like want to help you when you feel that way, and pose it more as like, we are all trying to help you, because that is essentially what they're doing. But I think leaving her out of it, that is going to make her feel like a child, and it is going to make her feel like everyone is walking on eggshells around her. I think that it also, as sweet as it is and as nice as that is, and I love how she has her boys to take care of her, I think that it's not building her character as a parent, and it's not allowing her the opportunity to say, okay, this is something I need to work on. So if her husband, you know, is able to have these conversations and say, hey, this is what we're noticing and this is how it's impacting the household, and I want to help you and I want to be supportive, and I will definitely cook dinner when you feel that way, and I will definitely do all these things. But also, we need you to work on this, because what is that teaching the boys? That it's okay to have things that you struggle with. There's no accountability to fix it. And then everyone's just going to kind of walk on eggshells around you. That could impact their future relationships. So I think I would not call the husband an a-hole. I think that he was really trying. Obviously, he really loves and adores his family. I think that tactical wise, he could have handled this differently. And I think that it sounds like they have this tendency to maybe not talk about things. And then there is just this kind of blow up. And, you know, he's going to Reddit instead of going to his wife about it. So again, I think we're kind of continuing this behavior of like, I'm not openly talking to my wife about this. I'm talking to the internet. Like, I obviously I love Reddit. I think this is a great thread, but I think that they need to practice more open communication. She needs to work on emotional regulation. I think they don't need to let her off the hook that easily for it. And I think that he can continue to do these sweet things when he notices that she's in a mood. And maybe it could be, hey, why don't we empower her that when she feels this way, she can communicate to everyone. She can send a text. Hey guys, I had a really rough day. I'm going to be in a little bit of a mood. Can you guys just like be nice to me tonight? Like, empower her to do it.
Get
like,
her on the group chat.
Get her in the group chat. And I think the way you're wording it, like, you know, bad day alert, like it just sounds like, oh, like, you know, mom's at it again. We all have to be on our best behavior. Like, I could see how that would make someone feel like very attacked in that moment. So I think that he's very sweet. I think he loves her very much, but I think they need to work on communication a little bit.
I totally agree with your perspective. I think he definitely means well.
He means well.
I think it could have maybe gone about a little bit differently, but I think his heart is good.
His heart is good. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys got some value out of that conversation, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.